Hey there, and welcome in. I am so excited you're here. This is not going to be one of those trainings that are brutally long. I know how many of them I've sat through. I'm not going to do that to you. So, we are going to jump right in. Chances are you have already seen a before and after of mine, a transformation, maybe a quick little story about me and how I got started. I'm just going to touch on a quick little intro, and then we're going to jump right in and I'll go through and tell you exactly what you can expect to gain from this training today. But my name is Caitlin Mundy. I'm 38 years old. I am a mom of three. I became a macro coach completely accidentally, to be honest with you. I never saw myself doing this full time, but here we are. Always had a strong passion for training. I was a full-time in-person personal trainer at one point in my life, but the more kids I had, the less time I had to devote to that. And I basically had my own transformation that I felt I needed to share with the world, because what I did was actually the opposite advice that we get from mainstream health and fitness professionals every single day. And we're going to get into all of the things I go against the grain with inside of the industry because I know it works. I've helped over 400 women using my fat loss method at this point. It's proven results, and we're going to jump right in as to why this is. So here's what you can expect. There's a lot of things that macro coaches in the industry are doing. A lot of it is copy paste. A lot of it doesn't work, or at least it doesn't work in the long term. So I can guarantee if you're here to lose 15 or 20 pounds, you don't want to lose the 15 or 20 pounds just to gain it right back. We want to keep it off. And in order to do that, we've got to actually do some things different. So here's why the copy paste, I'll set your macros for you and I'll adjust them for you. What all of the macro coaches are doing in 2025, 2026 are not working. What you need to do instead, why most gym owners are just literally out there taking your money at this point. Exercise is such a small piece to this puzzle. And chances are you're spending a lot of time focusing on your exercise frequency, how much time you're spending in the gym. And this is such a small piece of what actually matters. We're going to get into the 3 pillars of success inside of my method, why it works, what makes it successful, and what I do specifically that goes against the grain of mainline or mainstream industry standards a little bit. So, just some stats to hit you with so that you can see what the current reality is in the state of this industry. I'm not even going to get into all of the nonsense about peptides and potions and supplements and your feed being bombarded with all of these people trying to sell you these pills, these supplements. I'm just not going to go there. But what I will say is that the majority of people out there are still paying a premium on their fitness routine. And the majority of these same people are also unhappy with their results. These are some of the quotes I've literally pulled from women that I've connected with either on consultation calls or in my Instagram DMs. So this is for real. It's market research that's available to you. You can probably look inward here and reflect on how much you're currently spending on boutique fitness memberships, Peloton and Peloton memberships, Pilates studios, apps that you've purchased on your phone, either one-time fees or recurring charges, your gym membership. Not only currently, but look at the last 3 years and see where that trend has gone. There is no secret that rents are premium. And gym owners honestly don't have any other choice but to pay or to charge really high rates for their services and market these services as personal training level classes, elite level classes. I see them all day long, and people are paying it to then turn around and still be unhappy with the results. So then they think, well, maybe I'm just not at the gym frequently enough. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I need to go longer, harder, or spend more hours in the gym. And then they finally get burnt out, extremely frustrated, and go to a different gym or sign up at a different boutique style gym membership. And it is, for me, as somebody in the industry, it boils my blood to see that this is currently where we are. It truly infuriates me. And I was an in-person personal trainer. And I'm going to get into why I no longer do in-person personal training, why I created my online coaching model the way that I did, and why I structure things differently the way that I do. But first, if I were to give you a visual, if weight loss was a pyramid, here's what most coaches would say that it looks like. And we see it all day long on social media, all day. Bombarded with, you're not in a calorie deficit. You got to be in a calorie deficit, number one. Number two, protein intake. And I will get into why I don't fully disagree with these points, but all of the other things that go into why the calorie deficit isn't working, right? Why we can't just be focused on protein alone, why we can't just be focused on the gym alone, and what we need to shift and change. So many people think, well, I just need to be doing more. I need to be better at my calorie deficit. I need to be better at getting protein. I need to do more walking. I need to be in the gym longer. And what you actually need is to do different. It's not actually about doing more of the same things that are not giving you the result that you want. And it's about recognizing the hard truth that you've got to do something different. You've got to do multiple things different. And I'll get into what those things are specifically. But that's the truth that you need to hear. Now that you've heard it, you can't unhear it. So now you get to choose, okay, am I willing to continue listening? Am I willing to continue participating so that I can stop doing certain things that are not providing me the result that I want and listen to what I need to do instead? I'm going to give you that pause and an opportunity to opt out if need be. Because some of y'all need to hear that and recognize it. Here is what a pyramid of long-term sustainable weight loss actually looks like. The foundation of this pillar is your habits, behaviors, mindset. Then we move into your metabolic blockers. Metabolism is designed to keep your weight in a place it wants to be. Our bodies prefer homeostasis. We prefer to give our body what it needs, and our body prefers that. Our body prefers to use carbs as its main energy source. And when it doesn't get those carbs, it has to look for protein to use for energy. And that's not the point of protein. We don't want the protein we're consuming to be used for energy. That's not why we're doing it. That's not why we have the protein goal in the first place. But that's what's happening. And then we get into the daily movement. So I want you to focus on those two pillars back to back, your metabolic blockers and your daily movement, because the two go hand in hand. And when we're talking about weight loss as you age, this becomes a little bit more complicated and complex, and not in a bad way, but it is less about simply calories in, calories out. It is just simply less about black and white calories in, calories out as you age. And so these two pillars become critical when it comes to recalibrating the metabolism. Then we have nutrition and training. So, oh, let me back it up here. let's let's back that up. So, getting into habit and behavior change. Now, quite literally, the number one piece of feedback I receive from women that I connect with, and I am a human being connecting with real people. I'm not a robot. I don't use ManyChat. I'm very 90s. I know it's so crazy. I'm not into tech, and I'd rather connect on a human level. Because of this, I do get the added benefit of hearing firsthand the real obstacles that exist when we're talking about, oh, I feel like I just can never stick to the plan. Or I stick to the plan and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday throws a wrench in everything. And then I feel like I've immediately failed. So then I just go into the mindset of like, well, if I'm going to like really fall off plan, then I'm going to like commit to doing that because I know Monday I'm right back in it here. And this is called self-sabotage. And we don't necessarily spot self-sabotage even as it's happening. It's typically sneaky. It typically shows up in ways that are completely unexpected. And it shows up because this is a normal, natural human experience. Welcome to the human experience. If it were just as simple as here's your plan, stick with it and follow through, then literally everybody would be walking around with this amazing body that they're proud of. If it literally was as simple as like, here's your grocery list and here's your macros, go do it, then every macro coach would be successful, and they're not. Every client would be successful. And that's just not how it goes. So I've discovered throughout my years of coaching, my experience coaching women and my experiences connecting with women on a regular basis, there are three different reasons why self-sabotaging behaviors do exist. And you can fall under a number of these categories, but we have the perfectionist. Well, if I can't do this perfectly, might as well not do it at all. Already fell off, why not ball out? We have the rebel. So I shouldn't have to follow all these rules and work this hard all the time to see results. This is taking too long. Probably just easier to stay exactly as I am. It's just easier. Why rock the boat? That's the rebel. And then we have the procrastinator. She's so cute. She's like, I'm going to get to that workout later today. No, I'm totally going to do it. I have the time and I'll get to it later. I am going to meal prep, just not today. And then inevitably, a better offer shows up where we get just comfortable doing the things we always do that are easier to continue doing rather than doing a new skill. Again, all human. If you're falling under these categories, you would be normal and there's nothing wrong with you. This is literally the human experience. But before we jump in, I want to talk about where this perfectionist mindset can actually be your number one sabotager. And I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out. There's really no coincidence here that these three transformations that you're seeing are coming on the other side of these women doing way less in terms of like what we're even considering to be criteria of a quality workout. Okay. So, like, my client Blake, for example, really did not think a workout counted or tracked if it wasn't an hour and if it wasn't 5 days a week. If she wasn't making it to the gym for an hour workout 5 days a week, she was just as good doing nothing. She would write off the entire week. And the weeks that she was able to be there, she was busting her ass. She's like, Caitlin, for the amount of time I'm spending working out, I should look like a fitness influencer, and I do not. So I'm not like, there's got to be something wrong with my hormones. There's got to be something wrong with my thyroid. This ain't normal. We started working together. She was training 3 times a week only, eating 2,000 calories, and she dropped 15 pounds. Yeah. Same thing with my girl Karen. Karen was addicted to exercise. She got extremely anxious if she did not get her steps in, get her full 30 minutes of lifting with her 30 minutes of cardio, and had a very rigid criteria of what quality exercise looked like. Victoria, very similar story, mom of 3 littles. She was struggling uh, to hit her 1,600 calorie goal. We actually brought her calories up to 2,000, not right away, slowly over time. And she was able to create a 20-pound transformation. Get this, not once, but twice. So after her second baby, she worked with me and she lost the 20 pounds. And then on her own, after her third baby, she lost 30 pounds using the exact same skills that she learned inside of my program, which was pretty crazy to see. And I love that she followed up with me and told me that. So the secret to fat loss has nothing to do with willpower, discipline, or constantly doing more. We already kind of covered that. So I'm just going to fast track a little bit. And I'm going to get into the first pillar of success inside of my program, why it works, first of all, but just so that you can see why this first pillar is crazy important and why I had no problem taking 30 days of my own time to offer a free challenge. That's how confident I was in this first pillar and the fact that it would work for literally anyone. I ran a free challenge. It was 4 weeks long. I had participants telling me they've lost between 6, 7 pounds all the way up to 15 pounds. This was crazy. So this is some of the feedback given about the challenge. And the challenge rule, the only rule that was implemented was tracking your nutrition every single day without missing a day. Okay? And hear me out. Yes, we eventually created a calorie deficit because weight loss does not come from not being in a calorie deficit, but the deficit had a specific standard. The deficit could not be crazy aggressive. That was a rule. Literally, the only rule was to track your intake to the best of your ability for the full amount of time. So you want to go out to dinner, you track it to the best of your ability. You want to get takeout, you track it to the best of your ability. You want to overconsume by a couple hundred calories or maybe a lot more than you anticipated. We've all been there, but you still track it. And the first pillar of success inside of macro tracking is not hitting your numbers perfectly to a T. It is not mastering all your macros all at once. It is literally removing the overwhelm of tracking, removing the expectation of hitting certain criteria perfectly, or, getting as close as pop. No, I didn't even expect my participants to get close to their calorie goal all the time, and a lot of them didn't. But the success was in the learning, the awareness, and the doing behind tracking. The first pillar is creating the habit and removing the judgment about what you're consuming, how much you're consuming, and collecting the data. In this pillar, yes, there has to be a small calorie deficit involved in order to achieve weight loss. But it your long-term success in weight loss will not happen with a drastic calorie deficit. You want to eat as little food as possible. This is not the program for you. If you want to eat salad with no dressing for the rest of your life, that is a road to the hardest possible way to achieve weight loss and a very, very, very quick rebound weight gain statistic. So the first pillar is mastering calories and protein only. When I talk protein here, we're talking a floor protein goal, bare minimum. The bare minimum that it takes to lower the barrier of entry to start getting a little bit more protein than you were. We're not talking about nailing that 150-gram protein goal. That comes later. Let's talk about getting 20 grams more than you're currently getting now. And when we start winning by lowering the barrier of entry, we have a world of opportunity now. When we develop the habit of just tracking alone and removing what tracking means, removing the meaning, removing any pressure of adhering to anything, it just becomes a regular other normal habit that you're taking 10 minutes a day to do. Once that habit is solid, once that protein goal range is a bit higher, then we move into mastering the carbs and the fat. And for some of my clients, this takes longer. And you know what's amazing about this is that just like that challenge resulted in over 61 pounds lost in a group who have literally never tracked anything a day in their life, you see results every step of the way. So when something is proving results, and when you have a habit nailed, now your next challenge is improving one of the skills within the habit, not layering something new, not talking about adding new, not talking about adding an exercise. I'm talking about mastering one thing at a time. And for a lot of women, this is going to come back to your carb and protein ratio. So the second your protein is balanced, we want to make sure you're getting enough carbs to actually support everything that we're doing on the other side of improving the metabolism. Okay, so then we have pillar number 3. Notice I didn't talk about exercise. I didn't talk about exercise because the level of success inside of this method has very, very, very little to do with exercise. It is way more to do with overcoming self-sabotaging behaviors, having a coach in your back pocket that's giving you accountability and support every step of the way, every single time you're tempted to go back to an old habit, every single time you're tempted to use perfectionism in this method, and then saying, wait, this is the same self-sabotage that has set me back so many times before. I cannot be stuck in these patterns. I'll be the first to admit This method works, of course, but it is not magic. It's not magic. So if we are stuck in old habits and behaviors without ever breaking these cycles, none of this is ever going to change with the next new shiny plan. None of this is ever going to change with a new macro guide, adjusting macro goals, a new grocery list, a new fitness plan. None of this is going to matter if we don't integrate this pillar of habit and behavior change. And the great news about this is that all of these behaviors are fixable and changeable. It is exactly the same thing as learning a new skill or seeing your child learn a new skill, pick up a new sport, learn a new skill at school, doing something in their education. You, as the adult, can either mourn the fact that you've been doing it wrong and following what gurus in the industry say for so long. You can either mourn that reality or you can celebrate the fact that you can wake up at any age and change your mind. So I am not here to convince you to do anything you don't want to do. I am not here to say this plan is superior to any other plan that you would ever find on the interwebs. But what I am saying is that we are what we repeatedly do. If you've got these tendencies to be a perfectionist, to have the all or nothing mentality, to hop to a different program, to completely shift gears when things feel hard, to create a set of expectations that never match your reality, I promise you that the approach you're taking matters. The approach you're taking matters. And these are small, simple shifts that literally anybody can make. So, no, this is not complicated. If you're thinking, this sounds too easy, yeah, it's simple. This is all extremely simple. But where you move the needle is when your focus changes, when your focus is redirected to doing the thing that proves results, even when it feels hard, even when it feels inconvenient, even when you don't think it's going to prove a result. And I can guarantee it does, because the secret to fat loss is continuing forward. And the reason you're here is because you keep stopping and starting. So if you're ready to jump in and see a forever result, build the habits that you want to have and embody in an easy way, not in a way that feels forced. If you want to live a result that you're proud of and not have to gain and lose the same weight every 6 months, then I invite you inside of the 90-day fat loss method, where you'll have me as your personal coach in your back pocket every step of the way. I won't let you fail. So I'll give you the link and invite you if you would like to join my program. I'd be honored to coach you, and I'll see you inside.